The Hollow Stars. Prologue, the celestial collapse. Long before the rise of kingdoms, before the first fires of civilization were lit, the world of Illyria was visited by beings from the stars. They called themselves the Voidweavers, though their true name was lost to time. They were not gods, nor were they mortal. They were something far stranger, creatures of infinite complexity, wielding both magic and technology beyond comprehension. Their ships, sleek and silent, descended from the heavens, and they built great spires that pierced the clouds, their surfaces shimmering with iridescent light. The Voidweavers were not conquerors, nor were they saviors. They came as observers, as architects of a grand design. They reshaped the land, creating machines that could bend reality itself. They taught the early inhabitants of Illyria how to harness the shards, fragments of their technology that glowed with an inner light and hummed with latent power. For a time, the world flourished under their guidance. But the Voidweavers' hubris was their undoing. In their quest to transcend existence, they tore a hole in the fabric of the cosmos, a rift they called the Hollowing. It was not a void in the traditional sense, but a living, sentient force, a reflection of their own fractured consciousness. The Hollowing consumed everything it touched, twisting reality and devouring hope. The Voidweavers, realizing their mistake, tried to contain it, but it was too late. Their great spires fell, their machines crumbled, and they vanished, leaving behind only ruins and whispers of their once great civilization. The world of Illyria was left scarred, its people struggling to survive in the shadow of the Hollowing. The shards, once symbols of hope, became relics of a forgotten age, sought after by scavengers and scholars alike. And though the Voidweavers were gone, their legacy endured, a reminder of the price of ambition. Chapter 1. The Whispering Spire. In the desolate wastes of the Shattered Expanse, a young scavenger named Nira eked out a living by salvaging fragments of the Voidweavers' ancient technology. The Expanse was a harsh and unforgiving place, a sea of shifting sands and jagged rock formations, where the wind carried the faint hum of dormant machines. Nira had spent her entire life here, learning to navigate the treacherous terrain and avoid the attention of the Stormcallers, savage tribes who worshipped the Hollowing as a divine force. Nira was different from the other scavengers. When she touched a shard, she didn't just see its surface, she glimpsed fragments of memories, visions of a world that no longer existed. She saw towering spires that reached into the heavens, machines that pulsed with light, and beings of impossible beauty and complexity. These visions haunted her, filling her with a sense of longing and purpose she couldn't explain. One day, while exploring a particularly remote region of the Expanse, Nira stumbled upon something extraordinary, a spire half buried in the sand. Unlike the others she had seen, this one was intact, its surface shimmering with a faint, otherworldly light. As she approached, the ground beneath her feet vibrated, and the air grew thick with static. The spire seemed to hum, as if it were alive. Nira hesitated for a moment, then placed her hand on the spire's surface. The moment she did, the world around her dissolved, replaced by a vision of swirling stars and endless darkness. A voice echoed in her mind, deep and resonant. The Hollowing returns. You must find the heart. When the vision faded, Nira found herself standing before the spire, her heart racing. She knew, with a certainty she couldn't explain, that her life was about to change. Chapter 2. The Technomancer's Gambit. Nira's discovery did not go unnoticed. The Technomancers, a secretive order who claimed to understand the old ways, had been watching her for some time. They were a strange and enigmatic group, clad in robes adorned with glowing shards, their faces hidden behind masks of polished metal. They were led by the Archon Veilus, a woman of sharp intellect and even sharper ambition. Veilus had long been searching for the heart, a mythical device said to hold the power to seal the Hollowing forever. She believed that the heart was the key to unlocking the full potential of the Voidweavers' technology, and she was willing to do whatever it took to find it. When Nira returned to the scavenger camp with tales of the spire, Veilus was quick to act. She dispatched a group of technomancers to retrieve Nira and bring her to their stronghold, a sprawling complex of ancient machinery and glowing shards known as the Nexus. Nira was wary of the technomancers, but she knew she had no choice. She needed answers, and Veilus seemed to have them. When they met, Veilus revealed the truth about the spire. It was a beacon, one of the last remaining links to the Voidweavers' network. The heart, she explained, was not just a device but a living entity, a fragment of the Voidweavers' consciousness. The Hollowing is not just a force, Veilus said, her voice cold and measured. It is a reflection of the Voidweavers' own fractured existence. The heart is the only thing that can stop it. Nira, distrustful but desperate, agreed to join the Technomancers on their quest. Together, they deciphered the Spire's cryptic messages, which pointed to the heart's location. The Black Zenith, a floating fortress hidden in the storm-racked skies. Chapter 3. The Skybound Fortress. The journey to the Black Zenith was fraught with danger. The skies were ruled by the Stormcallers, who saw the Technomancer's airship as an affront to their gods. The airship, a sleek vessel powered by shards, was battered by lightning and buffeted by winds that threatened to tear it apart. Nira, unused to the chaos of the skies, clung to the railing as the airship shuddered and groaned. She watched as the Technomancers worked tirelessly to keep the vessel aloft, their hands moving deftly over glowing control panels. Despite her reservations, she couldn't help but admire their skill. When they finally reached the Black Zenith, Nira was awestruck. The fortress was a marvel of ancient engineering, its surface covered in intricate patterns that pulsed with light. But it was also heavily guarded, its defenses still active after centuries of dormancy. The Technomancers fought their way through the fortress's defenses, their shards flaring with power. Nira, armed with nothing but her wits and a small shard she had salvaged, did her best to keep up. As they delved deeper into the fortress, they began to experience strange phenomena. Time twisted, reality frayed, and whispers filled their minds. The Hollowing was not just a force. It was alive, a sentient void that fed on hope and memory. Chapter 4. The Hollowing's Embrace. At the heart of the fortress, they found the heart. It was a massive, pulsating orb of light, suspended in a chamber filled with swirling energy. The moment they entered the chamber, the Hollowing surged forth, its presence overwhelming. Veilous, driven by ambition, attempted to seize the heart. But the moment she touched it, the Hollowing consumed her, twisting her form and fracturing her mind. The fortress began to collapse, its structure unable to contain the Hollowing's power. Nira, guided by the machine's warnings, managed to stabilize the heart, but the cost was high. The machine sacrificed itself to contain the Hollowing, leaving Nira with a grim realization. The heart was not a solution, but a temporary fix. Chapter 5. The Voidweavers' Legacy. Nira emerged from the fortress with a newfound purpose. The Voidweavers had not been saviors. They had been fools who played with forces they could not control. But their legacy was not entirely lost. Nira discovered that the beacons were more than just relics. They were a network, a way to communicate with the remnants of the Voidweavers' consciousness. Using the beacon in the Shattered Expanse, Nira reached out to the Voidweavers' collective mind. They revealed the truth. The Hollowing was not an external force, but a reflection of their own fractured existence. To truly stop it, Nira would have to confront the Hollowing within herself. Chapter 6. The Final Convergence. Nira returned to the Shattered Expanse, where the Hollowing's influence was strongest. With the heart in hand, she entered the beacon and activated its full power. The Spire came alive, its light piercing the heavens. The Hollowing surged forth, a maelstrom of darkness and despair. In the heart of the storm, Nira faced the Hollowing. It took the form of her deepest fears and regrets, but she refused to yield. Drawing on the memories of the Voidweavers and the strength of her own will, she merged with the heart, becoming a living seal. The Hollowing was contained, but Nira's consciousness was scattered across the network, her essence forever tied to the beacon. Epilogue: The New Dawn. The world of Illyria began to heal, though the scars of the Hollowing remained. The Technomancers, now leaderless, turned their focus to understanding the Voidweavers' legacy without repeating their mistakes. The beacons, once silent, now pulsed with a faint light, a reminder of Nira's sacrifice. In the Shattered Expanse, the Spire stood as a monument to her courage. And though Nira's body was never found, some say her voice can still be heard in the whispers of the wind, guiding those who dare to dream of a better future.